another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment. Whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake, one should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desire for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. With this metta thought, let us begin our meditation practice. I think it is very good if everybody memorize these words of metta recital and recite them with understanding and meaning what they recite, not just parroting it, but read it or recite it with sincerity, wishing what we recite to be a reality in life, everyone's life. This is what we need today. Metta practice, metta thought. The world needs it now more than ever before. So we recite them every time we meditate, in group or when we meditate alone. We think of them, these words. Now we have to switch on with this background, switch on to our focus on the breathing. As we breathe in and out for a few minutes, we notice the breath settling. When the breath is settled, we notice long inhaling as long inhaling, long exhaling as long exhaling, without verbalizing or conceptualizing, or without saying, I breathe long, or I breathe long in, I breathe long out, without using this sentence, I breathe, but let the breath flow in and out and become aware of the length. When the breath is long, inhaling long, we become aware of that. When exhaling long, we become aware of that. Then afterward, the breath may turn into short inhaling and short exhaling, and we become aware of that state of mind. And then we notice the beginning, middle, and end of each inhaling and each exhaling. That means when we breathe in, when the breath touches the nostrils, that is the beginning of that inhaling, whole stretch of breath from that point till the end is the middle of inhaling, and when inhaling completes, we reach the end of inhaling. Then we notice a very brief pause, and then exhaling begins. Whole stretch of exhaling is the middle. When exhaling completes, we notice the end of exhaling and a brief pause before the inhaling begins. This is happening all the time from the moment we took the first breath till we take the last breath. But only when we pay attention we notice them. In order to have this awareness, we pay attention. And knowing this is called knowing the whole breath body. Knowing the whole breath body, we breathe in and breathe out. Then the breath, the physical, the body, physical body. Breath also is called a body, one of the bodies. It is subtle and yet it is a body, because the breath is made up of elements: earth, air, water, fire elements. So we breathe in and out. Then the breath becomes relaxed, calm and settled. Notice in this calm, relaxed breathing in, and we breathe out. We're noticing this relaxed state of the breath. We breathe in, breathe out. Then the breath becomes even more calm, relaxed and settled. At that time, no greed can arise. Whatever greed is there will fade away in the face of calm, quiet, peaceful breathing. And then the breath becomes very even subtler without greed. Then at that time, our metta feeling, we feel in the agitated state of mind, excited state of mind, with anger and resentment, metta feeling does not arise. And therefore when metta feeling arises, resentment or anger fades away. That's also a very wonderful moment in our focus. At that time, body and minds are so calm, relaxed and peaceful. Sometimes people feel asleep. And that we have to overcome in order to make progress in our practice. In order to overcome sleepiness and drowsiness, visualize bright light, like sunlight. When we visualize that kind of brightness, then our sleepiness fades away, mind gets energy. When the mind is energetic, body is energetic, sleepiness and drowsiness disappears, and restlessness and worry can arise. Naturally, when the mind is too active, when restlessness and worry arises, we remember many incidents, traumatic experience, pleasant experience, painful experience from the past, or we may plan the future. These are very normal, natural things, but we have to overcome that in order to continue our practice more successfully. In order to overcome restlessness and worry, we try to stay in the present moment. Present moment is the moment where the breath is going on and on and on. So we focus our mind on this movement of breath in and out. As mind is settling on the breath, restlessness and worry fades away. When it fades away, we still may have some doubt. In order to overcome our doubt, we first must think of the Buddha's attainment of enlightenment. Arouse of faith, saddha, is a very powerful, beneficial mental state. Buddha is supremely enlightened. On his own, following the breath, he practiced meditation, mindfulness of breathing. So mindfulness of breathing is so powerful if we use it correctly that it can lead to attain enlightenment. Therefore, we must trust, have full confidence in the Buddha, who also followed the Dhamma. By following Dhamma, he attained full enlightenment and made the Dhamma his teacher. So our supreme teacher, even above the Buddha, is the Dhamma. Following that Dhamma and Buddha's instructions, his disciples practice meditation and attain enlightenment. And we have trust in them. Now we have trust in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And we must have trust in ourselves. We already have overcome greed, resentment, sleepiness and drowsiness, restlessness and worry. Therefore we have some success. Based on this success, we can gain trust and confidence in ourselves. With this, we gain joy. That joy arises by degrees and make the body and mind even more calm, relaxed and tranquil. This tranquility, called passaddhi, Buddha said, passam bhayankaya sankarang assa sissami iti sikkati. Passam bhayankaya sankarang passa sissami iti sikkati. Noticing this relaxed state of mind, we breathe in and out, then we gain happiness. Happiness arises when the mind is calm, relaxed and tranquil, full of joy. And then gain concentration. Concentrated state of mind we use for seeing subtlest changes taking place in our aggregates, body, feeling, perceptions, thought and consciousness. And this is how we make progress to overcome our greed, hatred and delusion. That is the ultimate goal of Vipassana meditation. Now let us spend the next few minutes doing that and see how successful we will be. By means of this meritorious deed, may I never join with the foolish, may I join always with the wise, until the time I attain Nibbana. May the suffering be free from suffering, may the fear-struck be free from fear, may the grieving be free from grief, so too may all beings be. From the highest realm of existence to the lowest, may all beings arisen in these realms, with form and without form, with perception and without perception, be released from all suffering and attain to perfect peace. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Friends, we want to continue our talks on the factors of enlightenment, 37 factors of enlightenment. We have been discussing the 37 factors of enlightenment are divided into 7 groups. I repeat this very often every time I give a talk. 7 groups. First is the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Second group is for striving. Third group is for basis of success. Fourth group is 5 spiritual faculties. Fifth group is 5 spiritual powers. Sixth group is the 7 factors of enlightenment. And the last group is Noble Eightfold Path. This is how we make 37 factors of enlightenment. It is very good for us to remember these 7 groups or 37. I have been talking on the first group, that is 4 foundations of mindfulness. 4 foundations of mindfulness. First is mindfulness of the body. Second, mindfulness of feeling. Third, mindfulness of the mind. Fourth, mindfulness of Dhamma. Mindfulness of the body divided into 6 groups. That is mindfulness of breathing, mindfulness of posture, mindfulness of clear comprehension, mindfulness of impurities of the body, mindfulness of what you call 4 elements, and mindfulness of the 9 symmetry or charnel ground meditation. Then mindfulness of feeling. There are 8 pairs, pleasant, unpleasant, and so on. Then mindfulness of mind. We use also pairs of 8 pairs. Now mindfulness of the Dhamma. Mindfulness of Dhamma also divided into 5 groups. First is hindrances. We discuss it. Today the second group, the 5 aggregates. How a meditator, Buddha said, a bhikkhu, use 5 aggregates as his or her objects of meditation. Normally, ordinary, uninstructed person called Puthujjana, that is the person who does not regard for noble ones and is not skilled in noble one's teaching and undisciplined in noble one's Dhamma, or he does not care for a person with integrity called Sappurisa, person with integrity. A person with integrity is a person who has attained the stream entry, once return and never return, and Arahanthood. These are the people who have a real integrity, unwavering, very powerful personal integrity. So the person does not associate with them, does not care for them, and is not skilled in their teaching and undisciplined in their teaching. That is called Putujjana. All this description is for Putujjana, is used for describing Putujjana, uninstructed person. And that person does not know the difference between 5 aggregates and the 5 aggregates subject to clinging. So here Buddha uses the word 5 aggregates subject to clinging. Pancha Upadana Khandha. 5 aggregates are subject to clinging. What is the difference between 5 aggregates and 5 aggregates of clinging? 5 aggregates of clinging, all unenlightened person has 5 aggregates of clinging, because they are attached to them. Therefore they are called Satta, S-A-T-T-A, Satta. Satta, in Sanskrit Sattva, Buddha defined as one who is attached to the aggregates. Satto, asattoti satto. Asatta means attachment. Those who are attached to the aggregates, form, feeling, perception, volition and consciousness, these are the aggregates. A person attached to them is called Satta. Arahant and the Buddha are not Satta. When we pay respect to the Buddha, we say Saddha Deva Manusyanam. Their Saddha is spelled as S-A-T-T-H-A. See the difference between Satta and Sattha. Satta, S-A-T-T-A. Sattha is S-A-T-T-H-A. When we talk about the Buddha, we use the spelling, when we write it, we use S-A-T-T-H-A and pronounce as Sattha, emphasis on last T-T-H-A. Stress it. One who is not attained enlightenment Satta, S-A-T-T-A. And therefore the Buddha is not called Satta, Buddha is called Sattha, and therefore Buddha is called Asattang Sugatang Buddhang. Asatta. Buddha is Asatta and Sattha. Sattha means not one who is attached to the five aggregates. And we must remember this distinction between Sattha and Sattha, the meaning between Sattha and Sattha. So that person is called Sattha, ordinary people. Ordinary people are Sattha. They don't know the difference between aggregates, five aggregates and five aggregates subject to clinging. And therefore Buddha introduced this system for their sake, to use the five aggregates of clinging, or five aggregates subject to clinging. Five aggregates without subject to clinging are just five aggregates. That is what the Buddha and Arahants have. They have removed their clinging, attachment to the aggregate. And therefore, ordinary people who have not removed their greed, attachment to the aggregate, have five aggregates subject to clinging. Subject to clinging. That is called Upadana Khanda. Pancha Upadana Khanda. So, now this meditation, it is in the book and the teaching, it's only a very brief section. But it's in this brief section, each of these aggregates has to be dealt in three ways. Three ways. Number one, Rupa Upadana Khanda. The material form subject to clinging. So the person who meditates knows what material form is. Material form, as we all know, we are made up of material form and mentality. Nama Rupa. Here Buddha talk about the Rupa first. Why he talk about Rupa first? Because that is more visible, relatively tangible, and you can see movement of this body and so forth. So he starts using the body, Rupa Upadana Khanda. That meditate, this is form. This is form. What is the form? The form made up of four elements: earth, water, air, fire. This body, Rupa, is made up of four elements. And they are called form or Rupa. The name Rupa is given to this aggregate because it alters according to the environment. It goes through very quick changes through environment. For instance, when there is cold, the body skin shrinks, covering all the sweat pores to conserve the energy. When it is hot, all the sweat pores open to get some heat out of the body. When we are hungry, then the body begins to give the message to the brain. We feel the hunger. When we are thirsty, we feel the thirst. When we want to go to answer the call of nature, we feel that. All these things keep bombarding this body. They are called ruppana. Ruppati iti rupam. Ruppana. Ruppana means it is going through numerous changes very quickly. Whether we like it or not, it happens naturally. Even when we breathe in and out, this body expansion and contracts. The oxygen brings into the body and depletes oxygen. So many things happen to this body very quickly, therefore it is called rupa. So, Buddha said, the first step, each of these aggregates must be dealt in 3 steps. First step is knowing that this is the body. This is the body. We mentioned in the meditation on impurities of the body, 20 parts of these impurities belong to earth element. 12 part belongs to water elements. And then fire elements, air elements, space elements are dealt separately. All of them come together to make a body. So the meditator knows when anything one feels in the body, one knows this is the body. This is the nature of body. So he knows that this such is material form. Such is material form. And such is its origin. What is the origin of material form? Origin is not only happening only once, it happens always. The body origins from food. For instance, when we feel hungry, we eat. Then what happens? All the cells get nutriments, minerals, proteins, vitamins, all sort of things to survive the cells bring from food. That is called in Pali Kabalinkara Ahara, material food. Material food sustains material body. That is why Buddha said, Sabbe Satta Ahara Thitika. All beings live on food, material food. All living beings. Material food. So that is the origin of this body. That means, as I mentioned earlier, the origin does not happen only once at the birth and then finish. No. We have to make it happening or continuing it, sustaining it by bringing more and more food every single day. That is the origin of the body. This origin of the body has another origin, that food, we consume food to maintain the body because there has to be a desire to eat or drink. And desire is also another source of origin of this body. The food, material food, and under material food there is a desire to eat, to drink. So we have to understand this. Why we do that? Because they are impermanent. So the body is impermanent. They wear out, and then new cells must be built up, and therefore we have to eat the whole cycle of arising and passing away. So this is the second step. Second step is origin. First step is understanding what the body is, material body is. Second step is understanding how this material body arises. Origin. This is the origin of material body. And the third is such its passing away. Such is passing away. We learn the passing away of this body in various stages. In walking meditation, in under clear comprehension, and 4 elements and so forth. And the 32 parts of the body and so forth, we learn. They all are in the state of flux, changing, appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing. This body, we know, is disappearing slowly and gradually. And in meditation, we know this is the body, this is the origin of the body, material body, this is the cessation or ceasing, stopping. The moment we stop our desire, then come to an end of our desire, consumption stops, body stops, and body doesn't function anymore. That happens only when we pass away finally, attain enlightenment and pass away. Until such time, life after life, we repeat the body, material body. Then second is such is feeling. We all know feeling. What is the feeling? We don't have to explain what the feeling is because we feel all the time. We feel all the time. While you are listening to this talk, you feel. While you are breathing, you feel. While you are walking, you feel. While you are eating, you feel. While you are tasting, you feel. And while you are hearing music, you feel. So the feeling is not something we have to explain. But feeling also has various categories. Pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, neutral feeling, feeling with greed, hatred and delusion, feeling without greed, hatred and delusion, and so on. There are variety of feelings, and all of them fall into the feeling aggregate. And since we cling to it, it is called feeling aggregate subject to clinging. Vedana upadana. Vedana upadana kanda. Rupa upadana kanda. Vedana upadana kanda. So we cling to feelings. Therefore it is called Vedana upadana feeling subject to clinging. The moment we do not subject, we are not subject, we do not cling to the feeling, that moment our feeling subject to clinging becomes just a feeling. Similarly, we understand how feeling arises. We all know our senses, sensory object, consciousness. When these three meet, feeling arises, a contact arises. Soon after contact, feeling arises. And these five things happen very quickly. Senses, sensory objects, consciousness, contact, and feeling happens very quickly. And there, however, we know how feeling arises. There has to be consciousness, there has to be senses, there has to be sensory objects, there has to be contact in order for feeling to arise. So we know that. And that feeling doesn't stay forever. One feeling arises, it passes away. Another feeling arises, it passes away. Pleasant feeling arises, it passes away. An unpleasant feeling arises, that passes away. So, this is the third stage of feeling. One is what feeling is. Second stage is how feeling arises. Third stage is the disappearance of feeling. Similarly, perception. Of course, feeling arises through the, let me finish that. Feeling arises through the eye contact, ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, and mind contact. So whenever these 6 kinds of contact arises, feeling arises, 6 kinds of feeling arises through the 6 senses. And they are, that is their, what you call Vemattata. Vemattata means their variety, their differences. And then perception, sanya. Sanya also arises through senses, through when senses and sensory objects come together. We have consciousness, contact, feeling. As soon as feeling arises, we recognize it. That's called sanya. That sanya is also 6 kinds: Rupa sanya, Saddha sanya, Gandha sanya, Ras sanya, Pottabha sanya, Dhamma sanya. Perception. So we know these are 6 kinds of perceptions that arises. That is the recognition of perception. These are perceptions. And then arising of perception. How perception arises, we know. It goes through these 5 stages before perception arises. What are the 5 stages? Senses, sensory object, consciousness, contact, feeling, 5, and then perception arises. This happens so quickly that you hardly can isolate them, identify them, but this is how it happens. So meditator should know the way they happen. And also he should know the disappearance, cessation of perception. How they cease, how perception ceases, when there is no senses, no sensory object, no consciousness, no contact, no feeling, perception doesn't arise. Perception does not arise. So that is the cessation. So we know what the perception is, how perception arises, and how perception disappears, passes away. Then sankhara. Sankhara means volition. The word sankhara issues so many meanings, but in this case, meditator knows volition as sankhara, especially in this categorization. Sankhara is particularly referring to volition, will. How it arises? Because of the desire. And how it passes away? When desire passes away, it passes away. Here sankhara actually mainly 3 are. What are they? Bodily sankhara, verbal sankhara, mental sankhara. Sankhara means what you call factors that repairs and prepares other things. So bodily sankhara is inhaling and exhaling. Verbal sankhara is initial thought and sustained thought. Mental sankhara is perceptions and feelings. Sanyacha Vedanacha. So how they arise? Through this contact through the senses, sensory object, they arise. And then how they pass away? When there is no such contact. Contact is very important. Contact is the most important thing that arouses everything. Then the last is consciousness. We understand what consciousness is, although we cannot define it, but we all understand what consciousness is. When consciousness arises, we know. Then second stage is knowing the rising of consciousness. Consciousness arises through the senses, sensory objects. When these two meet, consciousness arises. Consciousness also are 6 kinds. They are eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mind consciousness. All are in 6, except the feeling, perception, volition, consciousness. All are 6 in each. Each of them have 6. That is, first is Vedana. Vedana arising through the eye contact, through the ear contact, through the nose contact, through the tongue contact, through the body contact, and through the mind contact. Feeling arises. Perception arises through the eyes, ears, nose, body, tongue, and mind. Volition arises Rupa Sanchetana, Saddha Sanchetana, the 6, that is thought about the form, thought about the sound, thought about the smell, thought about the taste, thought about the body contact, and thought about the mental object, Dhamma Sanchetana. And the last is consciousness, eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mind consciousness. We know them and we know how they arise and we know how they pass away. This is the whole practice of meditation. Although the section is very short, but it involves entire meditation practice. Friends, that's all time I have today, and we will continue this next week. Tomorrow you may have questions. Tomorrow you may ask me questions. Now I want to conclude this with my regular benediction, sharing merits with all living beings. May all those who are suffering in hospitals, from many kind of diseases, may they very quickly recover from their diseases and return to normal healthy life and continue their Dhamma practice and attain liberation from samsaric suffering. May all the doctors, nurses, hospital staffs who very compassionately take care of their patients, and may they continue their wonderful compassionate service and live long to continue their service and practice Dhamma and liberate themselves from samsaric suffering. And may all others who are generously supporting all these places, hospitals and various institutes that take care of people, animals and so forth, may they continue their generosity, may they live long in very good health and practice Dhamma and liberate themselves from samsaric suffering. And may everyone who are suffering in many other ways, like in war zones and being victims of various kind of atrocities and so forth, may they find peace, happiness, solace and comfort and practice Dhamma and attain full liberation from samsaric suffering. And finally, may all of you who are participating in this or not participating in this, may all living beings be well, happy and peaceful and attain liberation from samsaric suffering. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank
Okay.
you, Bhante.
Thank you,
Thank
Bhante.
you,
Very
Everyone
nice
have
of
a nice
Bhante.
day.
Thank you,
Bhante.
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Very good.
Thank you,
Very good.
Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante. Everyone saranai.
Thank you,
Teruvan
Bhante.
Saranai, Teruvan Saranai.
Long life, good health.
Okay.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay. Teruvan Saranai. Bye.
Good night, Bhante.
Bye.
Questions tomorrow.
Questions tomorrow. Mumu.
Hi,
Mumu.
Bhante. Thank you. How are you,
Yes.
Bhante?
Yes. I
Nice
hope
to
you
see
all
you.
are doing well. Eh?
Yes, I'm
Bye.
well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mangalam.